Hi everybody! In today's video I am going to show you how to turn dots into hearts. And first I make a pair, as you can see on the left, and then I make a sideways vertical pull on a regular bead. And as usual, you can find me through Facebook. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to make a little pair that could be for earrings or a bracelet if you want a matched pair of beads. And of course I'm using one of my regular size mandrels, which is about 3/16 I think. So you can make these, if they were going to be earrings, you can make them on much skinnier mandrels. And what I do here is after I get the same size, you want to try to get the same size amount of glass for each bead so they're even. I'm going to roll them out into little stubby barrels. And this video, I have it sped up like it's twice as fast or so, just to save some time. And I'm going to lay dots around the surface. You can lay as many dots or as few of dots as you want around the surface of your bead. And the way I make these hearts, you know, people do them differently, is I have, you know, one heart bleed right into the next heart. You can actually have these hearts a little more separated, so there's a full heart shaped with the base color, which here I'm using a light aqua, where the base color is just separating the hearts. But I'm putting, I believe it's 5 dots around on this light turquoise with this nice orangey coral color. It's a really pretty color. And I make my dots pretty fat because I want my hearts to stretch as far as I can, because they do kind of, depending on the glass you use, they can sink in. The glass can actually sink into the surface glass and become smaller. That's especially true with purples. If you ever notice putting purple on ivory, the purple can almost disappear and just be a really thin line if you heat it a lot. So some glass does that, depending on how you're layering it. But I like nice wide hearts. So what I'm doing is I'm going to melt in this coral color, and then I just flatten it out again to that barrel shape. And I try to keep an eye on my beads to make sure they're still about the same size if I want a matched pair. And so sometimes I will add a little more glass. I'll put little dots right on top of those existing dots to add a little more glass to one side or the other, just to even them out. But now that I have my coral on, I am going to put some, what am I putting? I think it's purple. Oh yeah, it's a purple stringer, sorry. I made so many videos I don't remember what I did. But this is actually an encased purple stringer. It's the same stringer that I used in my rainbow videos. But so it's a lighter lavender purple with a dark purple encasement over it. And so when I pull these out, there's actually some variance in it, because you can see lighter, like swirls of lighter and darker purple together. If you really don't want it, if you want it to be solid in the center, make sure you use a solid color, either a solid transparent or a solid opaque, depending on the look you're looking for. But this does give it a little variance because of the stringer that's encased. But I just used what I had on hand, and it still looked nice. So anyway, so I just melt those in too, and I want to check and make sure my beads are about the same size because I want a matched pair. And I'll probably be sending these to Beads of Courage. But so I do this, and then I am going to, in a little bit, I'm going to zoom in to show you how I pull out the hearts. And I'm pulling one heart right into another heart. And like I said, you don't have to do this, but these are like wrapping around the bead, these dots. And so I want one heart to just go right into the next heart and make a layer of hearts around. So there's a close-up of the dots. It's kind of hard to see because the coral's really dark and muddy looking right now because it's hot. And of course the purple's dark too. So now I'm gonna pull out, I have a transparent green stringer. It'd probably be best if you have a clear stringer or a stringer of the same color as your center heart. But I'm not gonna add any of this green glass at all to the surface. But I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit and try to allow you to see what I'm actually doing. And what I do is I heat 2 of the dots only. The 2 dots I'm going to be moving. And here is the zoom in. I pull from right inside the middle color down to about the top third of the heart that's below it into the center color, whatever color you have in the center. You could just have one color, so it wouldn't really matter. But if you have more than one color, you want to make sure you cover from one color in the center to the second color. And I pull it about 1/3 of the way into the lower heart. And then I sit there and pull off any extra nubs and try to make a nice sharp point that comes down to make the little heart humps. And so basically I sped this up again, and I'm just going around and I'm doing that to every set of dots. Every set of 2 dots, I'm heating up, touching it inside the very bottom of the above heart and pulling it down, and it's very gently. I'm not pushing into the glass at all. I'm just sticking my warm stringer onto the surface of the glass, and then I just drag it along. I'm not pushing down into it at all. I'm just dragging along on the surface of the bead, and it'll come with it and it'll move that glass. It's kind of like doing feathering, like when you do the wrap and rake feathering, which I have another video on that. I have a couple videos actually, and it's kind of like doing that. You really aren't pushing into the glass. You're just pulling along the surface, and very gently. And so that's what I do. I just keep going around, getting every set of hearts one into the other. And like I said, you could have had these more separated. I could have put just 3 hearts on the surface, and then I would place my stringer on the blue, on the background color, whatever the background color is. In this case it's light turquoise. I would put it above the dot and pull it down into the center of the heart, and then I would go right inside the bottom of that heart, right inside the center color, or right at the base of the color you're using, and pull that down into the surface of the blue or base color that you're using to make a heart that's just on the surface with the base color totally surrounding it. So you could just put like 1 dot or series of layered dots on top of a bead and just have 1 heart there, a single or multicolored heart. And these are if you want to make hearts that are flat on the surface. So you already have the dots all melted in. You can also make hearts raised on the surface, like I did in another video. You can have a raised heart. So it's whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. So I'm just heating these up now, and I'm getting them to their final shape. And I kept the barrel type shape for these, but I just tapered them down on the edges, so the barrels kind of turned down on the edges, but they didn't become totally round. And so that's the shape I wanted. So it's whatever shape you want. So once you have these hearts finished, I could have made them round beads. I could have made them totally rounded, so you can round it out after it. But I feel like it's easier to have that flat barrel surface when you're making these. I mean, it really doesn't matter, but I just find it easier to do it that way. And then you can round them out if you want at the end. And so here I'm just shaping and shaping. It's taken a while, even though I sped it up. And I'm trying to get them evenly matched so that they're the same width, they're the same height. Sometimes it takes a little work to get them exactly the same, or at least try to. Of course, nothing's perfect. But, and so there you have that heart, or those hearts. And I try to zoom in there to show you. It's really hard to see because they're hot and glowing, but hopefully you could see the little hearts pulled into one another like that. So that's that pair. And now I did a vertical heart. And this was interesting because I used a purple, see that dark purple line, and all I did was put a transparent color in the center, a transparent blue. But for some reason, it turned the whole center blue. And it almost looks like there's 3 different colors. So that was a really interesting reaction that I didn't even expect for this bead. But so this one, this is in case you would like a pair of earrings where the hearts actually are upright when you're wearing them. If they're dangling down vertically with, you know, the hole vertically, they would actually show a right side up heart when you see them hanging from your ears. And so I'm using a regular mandrel on this, but you can use the skinny earring mandrels. And here I'm using that light new purple from a Fetre. And this was an interesting effect because I really thought it was gonna come out to be a purpley looking blue because I used a transparent aqua on top of this. And so it was really interesting. So in this case, I'm only putting 4 dots around, and I probably actually made these dots a little too big because the heart was really big on the surface, as you saw in that picture there. And it was really hard to get a nice little pointed taper at the bottom that you could actually see with the rounded curve of the bead. So I probably should have made these a little smaller. So just an FYI, you can make smaller dots. And so the hearts would be smaller on the surface, but you'd at least be able to see the full heart if you're looking straight on at the bead. So now I'm taking that transparent aqua color, which made that weird effect. I really thought it was going to be this darker purpley blue look, but it ended up making that light blue outline with a straight aqua look in the center, which I was totally surprised with this color combination here. But it's interesting. Sometimes you're surprised by effects of putting colors together. So that's one maybe I'll use later. So anyway, but so I have all the glass melted in, and I want to keep my bead round, so I'm just letting it round out of the flame. And it's kind of hard to see there, but you could see those big giant dots. And I'm going to basically do the same thing, except for I'm going to be pulling the glass down sideways along the mandrel. And I'm going to use this same aqua rod to do it. And so what I'm doing is I'm heating the top of the dots, and I'm pulling from the base, from that aqua base, down into the heart. And I'm pulling it down about 1/3 to halfway down the heart because it is a short, stubby kind of heart. And then I go to the bottom, the very bottom of the inside color, and I pull down along towards the mandrel. You don't want to touch the mandrel with the glass, of course. You don't want to get it stuck. And then I just pushed it down a little bit because that's when I realized these hearts were way too fat. So I should have made them thinner because I was getting really close to the mandrel there at the bottom pull. So anyways, I'm going to zoom in, and hopefully you can see this effect too. So I'm heating just the one series of dot, and I start in the background, and I pull forward into the heart, the middle of the heart, and then I try to keep pulling off little tiny fast stringers of glass to get a point there for the little humps. And then at the bottom of the dot, I pull it out, try to make a point at the bottom, which that was the difficult part of this with these big oversized dots. And so that's all I do, is I go around and pull sideways. And so now you'll have hearts that will sit vertically if these beads were dangling down from earrings, let's say, or a charm off of a bracelet. They would be facing upright if you're looking at them. And so that's how you do that. And so I'm just tapping each end down there. And I'm just fixing up the points. And I have this sped up also. Oh, and I guess I have one more heart to do. And like I said, you're not pushing into the glass. You're just touching that warm rod or stringer, whatever you're using to pull with. You're just touching it gently to the hot surface of the bead, whatever you heated there. And you want to heat pretty much the whole dot, or at least in this case, the whole top 2/3 of that dot, just so that all the glass moves with it. If I only heated the very section, the little tiny section that I'm pulling down, none of the other glass is going to move and make the nice curve of the humps, if that makes sense. So that's why you want to heat up that whole dot section when you're pulling, at least most of it for these vertical hearts. And so there is the finished bead after I shaped it up. You could see, you could kind of see the hearts there. It's really hard. My lighting's not too good. But there's the hearts around the surface. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.